to go on. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be Grandis V, your host and caster this evening, and hopefully it won't be too bad. I am struggling with a little bit of allergies, maybe a cold. I have no idea, but either way, I am fairly congested. So hopefully that doesn't affect the match in any negative way. As far as the early draft is concerned, nothing really telling so far, and both teams take their time with these first couple bans, which is interesting enough. On the old roster of THD, and well, with this roster of Isurus, it wouldn't be out of the question to actually see a Meepo picked up from either team, although this early, maybe not going to be the case. But outside of that, it'll be interesting to see how these teams adapt to the current playstyle of the game after DAC and what have you, or maybe they're just going to stick with their tried and true, as a lot of these South American teams tend to do so. We'll see Axe, Troll, and Juggernaut all taken out. The Spin Lords are not going to be present in this game, and well, I can't say that I'm too heartbroken, although they are pretty fun heroes to watch. They definitely have gotten a little bit boring or overused maybe in the past couple of weeks, and it has been showing a lot of teams picking up maybe when they shouldn't be. But more than anything, really solid heroes that aren't going to be available inside this draft, but it is going to leave the ever-present Vengeful Spirit up for either Isurus or the Houses Down to snag up for themselves, and would be a pretty decent first pick. But outside of that, not really much else to talk about, as for now this is just flavor of the month. Pretty par for the course, and well, it's going to be a Lion for Isurus, and I definitely like it. If it's not going to be the Venge, Lion comes up as a close second, a very potent support offering a lot of disable. Being able to get two strong stuns from one hero is always a blessing, and having a Blink Hex Initiator also amazing. Once you get level 6, the raw mana burst potential that you have is through the roof. For the Houses Down, they'll pick up the Bat, and if they don't follow this up with Venge, you'll be pretty surprised, and well, it's actually going to be the Witch Doctor for them. So honestly, I think Isurus might want to just pick up their two supports off the bat with that Lion and Vengeful Spirit. Would offer them a lot of nice ways to counter-initiate a Blinking in Bat Rider, either be it through an instant Hex or from the swap to snap the excuse me, lasso post cast. But maybe they have something else in mind, or maybe they feel like the Hex is enough from the Lion. Either way, the Witch Doctor coming out from Houses Down is in its own right a very potent hero, comboing well with the lasso, allowing you to pick off once level 6, and Blink Dagger comes out for the Bat Rider, as well as level 6 from the Witch Doctor. A lot of damage to follow it up, and just a really good hero. Right now, there's nothing super interesting to talk about as far as it comes down to the picks, and nothing really telling. Honestly, Batwitch Lion could fit into 80% of the lineups out there in a pretty good way. Batrider scales incredibly well throughout the game and has amazing pickup potential. That's exactly why you pick that hero, and it's going to be a good tool at their disposal. For Isurus, they'll snag up the Shadow Fiend next for their team. A little bit risky to pick it up early, but definitely a hero that's been coming into the limelight after the last couple of weeks, especially in DAC. Pretty much picked 9 times out of 10, or picked or banned, depending on the teams you were going up against. Looking really solid, and well, we'll have to see how Isurus want to play it this time around. The mech build, the Yule's Scepter, no matter what it is, it's usually that first item that really shows how the Shadow Fiend wants to be played, or at least the first item is the one that needs to really get him rolling. He can find that farm very early on by backing off into the jungle. Flash farming potential on Shadow Fiend is through the roof. But what you're actually able to do with it's another story entirely. It's going to be a TA ban for Isurus, pretty much ensuring that we're seeing a Shadow Fiend in the middle lane, as TA is a hero that Shadow Fiend doesn't want to be dealing with. Running with a huge damage advantage, even if Shadow Fiend has maxed out souls, and really there's just not a great way to deal with those refraction charges by himself, and Lion not a support that's going to be doing much about that either. TA would be a potent laner for Isurus Gaming, or potent opponent for Isurus Gaming to go up against, should that have been the case. Houses Down will ban out the Slark next, and even though they have a Batrider Lasso and a Witch Doctor cast to somewhat lock him down, both of those are fairly easily packed it off, and a quick reaction time on the Slark could throw all of that down the drain, so definitely understandable. And Isurus, again, going to further secure their position inside the mid lane with the Viper ban, making sure that Shadow Fiend isn't up against some of the worst matchups for him, which the TA and Viper definitely rank pretty highly up there. Bristleback, the band from the Houses Down next. Since this is a solo cast, unfortunately, I'm not going to have anybody else to talk with, and you're kind of stuck with me, but it also means that I'm not going to be able to interact in the chat as much, which is unfortunate. But then again, we should be in for quite a game, or at least one can hope. Well, we'll just sit here waiting the next couple of picks from either side. House is down, sitting with the first pick out of the gate. What it's going to be the Venge, and I think this is a great pick for them. Since it wasn't banned out, it's definitely deserving of a first pick, and it's going to secure the Batrider further. If they gave away Shadow Fiend, Venge, and Lion to Isurus Gaming, that's incredibly scary. Giving you some minus armor to combo with the Death Ward on top of it all, and just a really potent hero. Tidehunter going to pick up for Isurus, giving them some nice amount of teamfight control and another way to counter-initiate the Batrider lasso jump. And also a way that Isurus can start fights on their own terms. Vengeful Spirit and Witchdoctor can somewhat zone out the Tide, but the Tide should be able to get enough out of the lane, at least to get to the point where he can fall back on those ancient stacks to get up a Blink Dagger or whatever the build may be for the Tidehunter this game, and is also going to get his level 6 at a pretty decent timing, so Isurus should be pretty happy with the first 3 heroes that they've snagged up. Both sides getting a decent share of the hero pool. The house is down, currently lacking some pretty punchy carries, although they have good tempo control, good supports that can roam pretty nicely and do their work throughout the entire game. I'd probably expect the house is down to snag up some sort of safe lane farmer for themselves. Although that is somewhat difficult up against a Tidehunter and a Lion, you probably want somebody that builds naturally into a BKB. But instead, they'll fall back and go for their mid laner. It's going to be the Razor to go up against the Shadow Fiend, and one of the last really potent laners up against the SF. Early game, the SF can't do anything about that Razor once he steals just a little bit of his damage. Shadow Fiend's literally hitting like a kitten and can't really do much about it. Razor, unless he gets ganked by the enemy supports, or unless he gets completely outplayed by the Shadow Fiend, eats a triple raise combo and gives up a kill here there, should be doing his job. But then again, I think he is kind of a lackluster hero, or at least mediocre. It works, and it does its job for the house is down. Its job is to keep Shadow Fiend at arm's length inside the laning phase. Isurus, now lacking another one of their supports, could probably go for just about anything, although they'll probably err on the side of a hero that doesn't really need that much, as you probably want to prioritize a Blink Dagger up for that Lion, just to make sure that he's able to get yourself a Blink Hex, a wonderful way to start those fights. I would be completely fine with the likes of a Dazzle, any sort of defensive support to keep the SF kicking throughout the fight, and would offer them a little bit more minus armor to pair with the Gush and the presence of the Dark Lord aura from the SF. We'll just have to see what Isurus Gaming are going to settle on. It is going to be interesting to see who actually plays all of these heroes, as they aren't running with DDX, and how Zuni actually fits into this lineup from Isurus is a new experience for me. I don't think I've seen them run with these 5 players before. And similar for the houses down, I suppose, since I actually haven't seen any of these 5. Crystal Maiden actually going to be a choice for Isurus in a very scary, aggressive supporting duo. Coming out with the CM and the Lion, especially once they get around level 3, get both of their disables up. With the Hex, the double stun, as well as having the slow from the Crystal Nova, it gets incredibly scary. But then again, if Isurus aren't able to play aggressively and aren't able to get kills with these supports, I think they'd probably be better off picking up a different support than the Crystal Maiden. But it is worth noting that Crystal Maiden Ultimate plus the Ravage from the Tidehunter is an absolutely ridiculous combination. Should Isurus get ahead with these supports, they could be in for smooth sailing throughout this game. These supports are definitely no slouches when they get their items, but if they fall behind, Lion and CM could end up just being food for the Batrider combination with the support, with the supporting cast. Faceless Void going to be the last ban out from the houses down. I think that's definitely warranted. Would have been very scary for them to go up against, just in and of himself, comboing decently well with the Crystal Maiden. Just dropping that freezing field while the Chronosphere goes down, and pretty much everything inside of that sphere is going to die. Zeus going to be the ban from Isurus, further securing their squishy supports, but it's going to be a Meepo for the houses down. I was talking about the Meepo earlier on, but I was not expecting it this game. You're dealing with Finger of Death on the Lion, Ravage, Gush, or Ravage, Anchor Smash rather, from the Tidehunter, Shadow Fiend, also decently good against the Meepo, and Crystal Maiden also packing a whole lot of damage. It's going to take a lot of frontlining initiation coming out from the houses down to actually keep this Meepo safe, but then again, it's a very hard hero to actually count out. Last pick for Isurus is going to be a Queen of Pain. I think all eyes are on suggest this game to see how he performs on this Meepo. Not exactly sure if that is their previous Meepo player. Ooh, apologies. I'll check that out in a second. But yeah, I think that if this Meepo does well, it's going to be a great game for THD, but if not, it is going to be a sketchy one at best. Alrighty, suggested is just his name, so this is just a new roster from THD. Altogether, Data Shooters are lineups. We are going to have THD on the Radiant side of the map with the Crazy on the Bat Rider. Mid lane Meepo, I suppose, is going to be played by Suggest. Mino on the Witch Doctor. Vengeful Spirit handled by Zeal and Strafe on the Razor. Dire side, it's going to be Isurus with the Queen of Pain, played by Dulcimania. Pepita on the Shadow Fiend. Crystal Maiden, played by fullback Lion, going to be played by Nadir. Leaving last but not least our offlane Tide, played by Zuni. He's going to be looking for that early ward placement, but not opening up with boots first. Could be in a little bit of trouble if he shows his face too far up. Vengeful Spirit and company definitely have plenty of CC to bring down this Tide Hunter at level 1. He will place his ward, but I think this has been spotted, or at least suggested, by the sports, and probably should be dewarded pretty shortly with those sentries sitting on the Witch Doctor. Should be able to make quick work of this vision from the Tide, and that is going to make his laning phase quite a bit weaker. Meepo starting out with just one pool tank. It looks like it's going to be a straight-up bottle rush coming out from him as he goes towards the middle lane, just to ensure that he has enough mana to spam up poofs whenever he sees fit. Bottom bounty rune going to be secured by THD and topped by Isurus, going to leave this mid lane at a fairly even footing, at least to start off this game. Shadow Fiend going to open up with a pretty stats-heavy build, as both of the supports are going to pick up the blocking slack to make sure that their mid laners get that extra infusion of gold. And it looks like the mid matchup, or at least where the creeps are going to match up for the mid lane, is going to be pretty even. Lion currently sitting behind the Shadow Fiend, as is the Crystal Maiden, seemingly a little bit nomadic. At least for now, doesn't seem that they've decided exactly where they want to go, but maybe they'll look for a first blood attempt onto the Meepster in the middle lane. Very easy hero to kill, and well, this creep equilibrium is fairly susceptible to it, but for now, looks like Isurus are not going to attempt it. But Shadow Fiend, however, is going to have a pretty free time in the lane. Currently perfect CS for him, and you can't ask for much more. Now sitting on 4 souls. His damage advantage over the Meepo is going to start racking up, and very quickly too. Although Meepo can poof down the creeps and get CS here and there, it's not really going to be until level 3 that Meepo can actually have any killing potential of his own. And it seems that already he's going to be relying on stacks to actually keep him back up in this game. As the Shadow Fiend is going to be very hard for him to deal with. Pepita going to drop a long raise into Suggest. And, well, although the bottle is there to help him sustain through this, he needs to be so careful on the Meepo. Safe lane Queen of Pain by Dulce, having a pretty good time up against the Bat Rider, but with the supports not actually starting out in the lane, the Bat also getting a good chunk of experience. The same can't be said for the Tide Hunter down towards bottom, currently only level 1 onto Zuni. Although he has a truckload of regen and 8 tangos as well as a salve, that's not really enough, at least for now, to actually keep him inside the lane, as he is respecting the ability of the Venge and the Witch Doctor just chain stun him, but little does he know that Zeal is actually over towards the side, and it looks like he's going to be preparing some stacks for the Meepo. Crystal Maiden off into the jungle, as Isurus look to get a little bit more gold onto their side. Crystal Maiden is one of these supports that can't do that, although I'm not sure if you really want to pick a CM if that is the plan that you have in mind from the get-go. Up towards top, Nadir going to be getting pretty close to the Bat Rider, but with boots on the Bat, no boots on the Lion, it seems unlikely that the Bat's going to die. He's going to look for vision. The Crazy is not going to spot out Nadira, but looks for now. Bat Rider's just going to be pretty comfortable soaking experience inside his lane. Razor having an absolute free time up against this Tide Hunter, although the Tide is going to find some experience out of this lane, even in a vacuum. Razor should have a good time in this lane up against the Tide Hunter, but now sitting at 2 levels ahead of the Tide is going to preempt these supports to do exactly what they are doing, and that's stacking up for the Meepo and putting some psychological pressure on the enemy team, just either not showing on the map or at least showing mid to make sure that they don't dive onto Suggest in the mid lane. Very passive early start to this game, and honestly not exactly sure who this favors. Both teams are looking for pretty easy or pretty similar items when it comes to what they're actually waiting for before they get up and start getting aggressive. Level 6 for the Bat Rider and Blink Dagger, and similar for the Tide Hunter. And while speaking of him, he's going to be again completely zoned out. That level 6 is not coming for a long time. And yeah, just waiting for their carries to pick up that first major item. For Meepo, maybe it's not going to be the first major item, but when he actually ticks level 10 and gets that third Meepo. Oh, lagging out super hard. Not exactly sure what happened there. Holy cow, hopefully that doesn't persist. I am continuously lagging. Let me make sure that nothing wrong is happening. Apologies for this. Well, okay, so hopefully that does not happen again. I have no idea what happened, but up towards top, they find out the crazy over in the sidelines, hexed up after vision from the Crystal Nova. It looks like this is going to be our first blood. Chain down, and that is going to be it. His fullback picks it up on the Crystal Maiden, just Batrider finding himself in the wrong quarter of the neighborhood. He'll be brought down. The raw mana CC from the line in Crystal Maiden is very potent. I suppose he was just expecting the CM to continue farming up in the jungle, but yeah, Firefly, not an end-all be-all escape for the Batrider. Invis room picked up by the Witch Doctor in mid. Maybe going to be able to set up onto Suggest, but it's not going to be without a potential support rotation. Or rather, kill off Pepita. Although, they do have supports close by the Dire if they're not careful. But with the Vengeful Spirit also, Pepita needs to be careful. But with Meeple playing so aggressively, at least showing that he wants to jump in, he's going to throw the cast, net going to connect, and now they're poofing in. Double Meepos, they have the second net, and it looks like Pepita is going to bite the dust. He throws a long raise, however, before falling, and is going to kill off the Witch Doctor. Level 1 Maledict is going to do him in. Suggest also dying to the right clicks of these two supports, as he just wasn't able to get it back out to safety. And it looks like Isurus are going to come slightly ahead inside that exchange. That was supposed to be a clean kill onto the Shadow Fiend, but not going to end up being the case. He gets a kill before he falls, and they also kill off the Meepo in return. Zuni, what's going on, Tidehunter? He already had 98 damage stolen, and he just stands there inside the lane. He didn't expect Strafe to be that deep behind the tower after getting that link. Expect him to go all the way back, but not going to be the case as he's just right-clicked down. Honestly, very awkward move coming out from Isurus. Salve going to be popped by the Razor, but unfortunately that's going to be canceled pretty instantly too. As THD give their supports a little bit of room inside these lanes. Meepo's looking up towards top potentially with one of his clones, the other clone inside base. Solo killing off this queen is going to be very difficult, but now with the Vengeful Spirit they do have some killing potential. Can't blink while you're netted down. Let's see if the net's going to connect. Net 1. They bring in the second Meepo as well as a Magic Missile. That's going to be the kill as Vengeful Spirit notches it with the missile coming out. In the mid lane, they do mop up the Witch Doctor and Nadira as well as Pepita, going to make quick work of that squishy support. Just a handful of raises as well as the chain stunning action coming out from the Lion going to be enough there. And they're going to match up with fullback. That haste rune picked up by Pepita, and this might be able to set up some kills, maybe even on the retreating Meepo. Vengeful Spirit is going to TP back towards her side of the map, and looks like Meepo's made himself scarce. One of the Meepos is still sticking around, but he'll poof out. And that is going to be the Meepo making his safety back, but down towards bottom. TP out from Strafe is going to succeed. No! The Queen of Pain ultimate is going to crater him, as they don't have to commit a Ravage for it. In fact, Tidehunter's only level 4, but Dulce going to make a nice rotation down towards bottom to put an end to Razor's free farming days. Action could break out at any time. We have the Witch Doctor sitting in mid, and maybe, just maybe, they can spot out this SF, but with the high ground ward, that seems unlikely. SF should be able to know exactly when any of these rotations are coming in and be able to avoid them accordingly. Tidehunter is currently sitting on the stack of Ancients, trying to make that a little bit bigger, but with only level 4, I don't think that Zuni can actually farm this up very effectively, especially not without assistance. And honestly, who's going to be assisting him much? Group up coming out from THD. They don't have the Blink Dagger on the Batrider. In fact, a long ways away, so maybe this isn't going to be expected, but it should be enough to kill off this SF. If they can actually get anyone disabled to land, killing off is going to be pretty easy. He pump fakes one raise, lasso over the top, gonna catch out Nadera. He's going to be pulled down to low ground, into a Magic Missile, into the double poofs. That's going to be end of his life, but now raise. That's going to be long one, and now double raise on to Suggest. He's going to be locked down by the Crystal Maiden. They might lose fullback in return. It looks like they will. The Requiem unleashed by Pepita, turning into Mino, excuse me. He's going to get the double kill with the Death Requiem. Little bit awkward coming out from both sides. The Shadow Fiend feeling like an absolute boss after killing off that Meeple, and probably should have been happy after just getting that one kill, but in the end, it's going to end up being pretty even as far as who actually comes out on top. In fact, slight advantage towards THD, since they are currently sitting at a disadvantage when it comes to the actual gold department. But that is being pared down. About 1,000 in the net worth, and all experience is almost completely zeroed out after that. Zuni, very close to getting that ever powerful Ravage for his team up, but it is going to take a little bit longer than he'd like to. Maybe he mops up a couple of these creeps that were left to him seemingly by the Crystal Maiden, as all of the large ones have been mopped up previous. And speaking of said Crystal Maiden, she's smoked up down towards bottom with the Lion looking to make a move onto the Razor. But for now, the Razor has made himself scarce. He's over in the large camps, farming up as we speak. Well, let's see if they're going to be able to connect. They have the Queen of Pain close by with an ultimate at the ready if they're able to isolate anybody, and it looks like Strafe is completely dead. He actually drops his Ring of Aquila on the ground. Oh my goodness, Grand Theft Ring of Aquila. It's going to be Nidera to deny 1,000 gold away from that Razor, and although it costs them fullback, they drop Strafe low, and now Queen of Pain comes in with just a quick scream, and that's Razor down for Crystal Maiden, and the Ring of Aquila steal coming out from the Lion, just wanting a little bit more efficiency when it comes to the healing than he was being given, I believe, by the Meepo's bottle. But honestly, that was so awkward by the Razor, and a huge loss for him. His net worth is now down the drain, only 2,000. That's terrible. That should honestly never happen. But a quick stun, quick steal, and Lion makes out like a bandit, because he sure is. Up towards the top, we are going to see the Bat Rider aggressed upon by Dulce. He doesn't have mana for the ultimate, doesn't even need it. The poison's going to be enough. Turn around, tried by the Witch Doctor, but actually not going to happen. With nothing else for that cast to bounce to, Dulce is going to be just fine, and Dulce is getting off to a very snowbally start. Currently sitting at 3-1-1, 60 CS in less than 10 minutes in, and going to be well on his way towards an Orchid. Currently 1 Oblivion Staff completed, and halfway towards the secondary one. 7-9, our kill score looks really good for Isurus. In all honesty, this Meepo just isn't able to really do much at this point. He's very easy to control, very easy to bring down. And I think he needed a little bit more snowballing potential, and Pepita's overshadowing when it comes to farm, and it is going to be the Yules build coming out for our SF this game. Every time he has that Requiem at the ready, getting solo kills is incredibly easy for Pepita, whether it's just Yules into the straight Requiem bomb, where he instantly kills off the hero, although it's only level 1, not going to instantly kill everybody from THD. But a couple of full praises and auto attacks should make quick work of whoever he catches out. Alrighty then, that's your Yule Scepter complete, and we'll have to see what he's going to be able to do with this item. And they do have level 6 up from the Tide, although, interestingly enough, Zuni not going to put that level 6 mark into the Ravage as he wanted to use it to farm up his Ancients, and I suppose that's fair enough, since he did have a stack at the ready and just wanted to farm it ASAP, and it is going to get the level 7 for farming that stack anyway. Bat Rider still not sitting on his Blink Dagger. If he dies here, this could be incredibly bad for him, but actually getting in range to catch out the Bat is another story, but I think he might be getting a little too comfortable here. Has no vision over fullback and the Lion, although now that they've showed themselves, the Bat Rider shouldn't die at all. Dying now is terrible, and the Crazy knows it. He should be able to keep himself secure for the next 250 gold that he tries and saves up. Meepo, in the meantime, farming up ancient stacks, or rather neutral stacks, as very well he should. Sitting on level 11, he is going to be getting pretty darn close to that Aghanim Scepter. Once we have that blink on the Bat Rider and the Ag's up for Suggest, that's really when THD want to start making things happen around the map. And getting important pickoffs is going to be very crucial for them to actually get back into this game and get into a commanding lead. Although Meepo's laning stage is subpar, this is when he wants to start picking up some steam with that first item pickup, whether it be Blink or Axe. As a general rule, smoke up coming out from the supports. Again, Nidera and fullback going to try to find some sort of rotation and some sort of kill for their team, but can they do it? They're going to look for a wraparound in mid, and killing off the Meepo again is going to be an incredibly crucial kill for them. And it looks like he's completely gone. He's going to be slowed down. Earth Spike, they have plenty of lockdown. Queen of Pain ultimate committed, as well as Crystal Maiden ulti. They'll be able to bring down the Venge in return, blinking for the lasso onto Nidera, but can they actually focus anybody down? Yule Scepter Requiem combo, and now turning into the Crazy. It looks like they will be able to mop him up with a blink in from the Queen of Pain, and a couple more auto attacks. 2 supports and 2 cores from THG. A huge trade for Isurus in their favor, and now that's going to secure themselves the Blink Dagger up for Pepita, as well as the double damage run up for this SF, and that's incredibly scary. Honestly, if as a support you can accomplish that, you do that pretty much every day of the week. It does cost them all of their high-profile ultimates outside of Ravage, but it seems to be completely fine. And speaking of this, Ravage, he's farming up nicely, going to be working towards his Blink Dagger. Tidehunter going to actually be able to contribute something to his team, and it looks like they haven't needed him until this point, and that's going to be very nice for Isurus. Matching a similar Blink Dagger timing to the Bat Rider, and honestly, I think this is going to be more important for them. That's not how you want to use your first blink from the Crazy. Trying to counter to Shade and then end up giving your life yourself, ouch, even scarier for Isurus is that we have an Orchid picked up by Dulce. Their heroes are just getting unmanageable for THD to actually deal with. And honestly, I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do so. Meepo needs to carry a lot of weight this game and suggests it's a long road ahead of him. Exactly how long? It's about a 6,000 gold lead and 4,000 in the experience. And although Meepo can recover pretty quickly, I'm not sure if it's going to be quick enough. Requiem cooling down for 25 seconds. Once we have that, Pepita, if he finds anybody, I think they're pretty much dead as long as they are solo. The other ultimates are going to have similar cooldowns, and that's when Isurus want to take a fight. Although they have the Ravage, you might as well wait for these big ticket ultimates, because honestly, I think they're pretty comfortable taking this late. Sitting on a double Ravage in the super late game and having a Shadow Fiend that's absolutely stacked is never a bad thing. And then you have the X Factor of Queen of Pain that can do quite a bit of scaling herself. And speaking of Quap, we do have an Invis rune on her, and it looks like the Crazy is going to bite the dust. We have Lion coming in from the left, as is the Crystal Maiden, although Dulce is going to hold it and maybe look for a bigger fish to fry, or just mop up the bad. Meepo is close, at least with one of his Meepo clones. The Crazy is going to get hexed up. He's trying to Firefly up to the high ground. He'll be able to make it. Nets fly through, not going to catch out the Queen of Pain. She'll be able to link over to the sidelines. Ravage committed on to suggest, I believe the Bat Rider got clipped as well, and he's going to lose his life. They might lose the Terror in the process. They will do so to the poof damage coming out from the Meepos. Zuni going to apply the Anchor Smash to all of the Meepos, and even though he's being attacked down, he's just not taking that much damage since these Meepos rely almost entirely on their physical right clicks. 2 for 3. Again, the Lion and Crystal Maiden are going to lose their lives. Looks like Zuni's also going to bite the dust as a Magic Missile flies through. 3 to 3. Razor can't clean up anymore, but still a favorable trade for Isurus as the Queen of Pain and SF survive, and the Meepo does not. And that really is a big problem for them. It could have gone a lot better for them, and since they used their Ravage, I'll call that a loss for Isurus, but only a slight one, if that. It really feels like they're still in a pretty comfortable position this game, even though they'd love to crush a team fight with Ravage and make that into a commanding lead. They're more than happy just waiting for these next couple of cooldowns. The Meepo getting shut down is huge for them. He does have his Agnum Scepter up at a pretty decent timing, 15 minutes, for Suggest. But it's not going to solve the problem that he's mostly having. It's the burst damage coming out from Isurus. It's just a little too high for him. Even though Meepo is rocking a little bit more magic resist than most other heroes, yeah, it's just not going to save you. Up against the raw amount that Isurus have at their disposal. We have a Blink Requiem at the ready from Pepita. The smoke hasn't popped yet, but it looks like they're going to find Strafe. The smoke's going to pop or maybe dissipate. And, well, they haven't found anybody yet. The Meepo's also close, and if they catch out anybody, things could go down very quickly, but Isurus aren't going to feel comfortable going behind that tier 1 tower, and you can't really blame them. Maybe they'll just look for an easier pick if Meepo goes over to farm those medium camps. But yeah, it looks like that smoke rotation is going to net them anything immediately, although Pepita, he does have a Blink Yules. If they can catch out Mino, that could be pretty tasty, but now I'll just back off. Double raise down the creep wave and go back to farming towards a BKB for him. But once he has that BKB, THD's damage is actually pretty limited. Although Razor can do a decent amount, this Razor has very little to nothing to actually contribute. He has drums and an Ogre Club, and although it's kind of nice, intermediate tankability items, it's not actually going to make him very punchy. Losing that Quiller really feels like it's taking a lot of steam out of Razor's ability to actually fight this game. And, well, yeah, he really just hasn't done that much outside of the laning phase, which is not to be unexpected by Razor, but it really feels like THD need to get more time. Suggest is going to get the tower up towards the top with all of his Meepo clones, and then poof down the creep wave. And he's still continuing to farm up at a decent pace, but it doesn't look like it's decent enough. Going to the Roche Pit, Isurus, they have been spotted out by a Radiant Ward. The fullback is going to promptly take out. But will THD actually come in to contest this? They have more than enough tools to actually fight near the Roshan Pit, but the threat of Ravage, Requiem of Souls, and the Queen of Pain ulti just seem to be a little too much for them. They're going to be giving this one up free without taking any towers in return. Tier 2 tower up top is going to be slightly pressured by Suggest, but the damage that it's going to take is negligible. You see how fast that Roche falls. Pepita now dealing with a double life for himself, and Isurus should be primed to just back off, heal up a little bit more, and then look for kills of their own. We do have the Crazy going for a little bit of a creep cut here. It slowed down the push, but honestly, with the Tidehunter, Queen of Pain, and Lion so low, I don't think Isurus really wanted to go for a push that quickly. They'll just rinse and repeat, and it looks like they might go towards that top tier 1 tower, or I mean, it's so low already, you might as well take it, or you can take a tier 2. Honestly, I don't think it really matters where they push, as long as they do something with this Aegis. I think Isurus are going to be pretty darn happy. it would shut down the Meepo's farming space quite a lot if they went for the tier 2 tower down towards bottom, and that could be an option for them. And, well, Pepita should be sitting on the double damage rune for that next fight, as he should walk over there and snag that up, replacing the regen. Even though regen's a wonderful rune to have, double damage SF seems a little bit scarier. That extra 89 damage goes a pretty long way. Regen pop, double damage rune bottled, soon. Ish, maybe. Looks like they haven't actually scouted it out. No, they've definitely scouted it out. Fullback going to spot it out. Here you go. Now going to ping it, and they should fall back and pick that up before actually going for a major team fight. But honestly, the raw power of their skills at this point is probably enough for them. And now the BKB flying out to the Shadowfiend. And this should be the final nail in the coffin. Maybe not even the nail in the coffin. But just the extra bit of oomph that they need to push them towards those tier 2s. Bottle going to be pitched by the Shadowfiend, actually, and they give the double damage to the Queen of Pain. Not sure if I entirely like this passive movement coming out from Isurus. They're letting THD get a little bit more, and a little bit more is transitioning into a Blink Dagger on the Meepo, and honestly I think they're slowing down too much. They definitely have stalled out when it comes to their lead if you take a look at the last 10 minutes or so. In the meantime, Racer going to be dropped, and oh my goodness. Not exactly sure what happened. Apologies there. I was not expecting the Racer to be inside this vicinity, but now after the fact, they'll chase after the Batrider, although he should be able to get it back out. THD going to pause the game, and hopefully nothing major is happening for them. Maybe there is some sort of lag issue for that Razor. Poofs out from the Meepo, going to keep him safe as Titan doesn't find anybody at the receiving end, but a pretty easy pick-off is definitely going to mean that Isurus put some aggressive pressure on the map, or at least I hope so. Vengeful Spirit and Witch Doctor need to be very careful as they sit on this bottom lane. The Isurus side are currently just going to push out bottom as well as mid, splitting their focus quite a bit. I think that they could probably just barrel down a lane since they still are holding on to that Ravage. The only big spell that they actually were forced to use was the Requiem, and that was it. Well, Batrider going to be spotted out, and oh my goodness, the Crazy going to try to TP out, but that's going to be denied by the Yule Scepter coming out from the SF. Into a raise, Tidehunter mops up the kill. With what? I actually have no idea. I think it was an Acre Smash. Well then, Isurus another pickoff, and if this doesn't push them into the enemy side of the map, honestly, I don't know what will. They need to do something. That tier 1 tower up towards top, although it's a very easy pickoff. In fact, Dulce is just going to go ahead and backdoor it. He also finds a Menno after the fact, going to ult him down, and that's the end of the Witch Doctor's life. TP not going to save you from that Sonic Wave, and Dulce not going to throw any, or show any hesitation with dropping that cooldown for a solo pickoff. Why not? After this, they'll put some pressure on the tier 2 tower, but again, they're falling back. Isurus are just playing this so passively, and honestly, I don't think it's necessary. When you have the fresh BKB up for Pepita as well as an Aegis, you probably aren't going to get much stronger relative to the enemy team in the near future. Sure, a 6-slotted Shadowfiend up against a Meepo is going to have a grand time, but then again, I think this is giving THG a little bit more room than, honestly, Isurus need to. Speaking of that Meepo, with the freshly picked up Blink Dagger, he hasn't been able to make much use of it, and, well, not really his own fault. Fighting into Isurus' lineup is easier said than done. I think what he's doing now is completely acceptable, just pushing out as much as he can. However, for Strafe, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this BKB pickup for the Razor, mostly because I feel that it's not going to do enough. Ooh, Blink Lasso in mid. They find fullback. Let's see if they actually have the damage. Pepita's going to jump in. He drops the stun with the BKB, and that's going to be the Requiem to crater the Venge. One raise, doesn't drop the second raise, trying to right-click down the bat, but can't actually find it. Pepita's going to lose his Aegis here, but now he doesn't have the BKB, and this could be very problematic for him. The Queen of Pain's coming in from the sidelines. Pepita blinks in aggressively, trying to go for the Crazy. They will be able to mop up Strafe, and that's going to be the end of his life as he gets raised down and screamed down by the Quap as well as the SF. Well then, looks like Isurus are finally going to push into the tier 2, although it took them a little bit of spreading out to do, or maybe not even the case. Blink away from the SF is going to keep him safe from the Witch Doctor and company, and actually, yeah, they're just going to be comfortable taking this one a little bit later. We have a Lincoln Sphere purchased up by the Queen of Pain, and that's going to be a nice item for Isurus to have at their disposal, especially up against the Batrider's initiations. Drop it on the SF, and you can be pretty fearless inside all of these fights. But yeah, back to the BKB on the Razor. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be doing enough to really warrant the pickup. It's a situation where you kind of need it. You're going to die if you don't have that BKB, and well, maybe that's just what they need. Blink Dagger up for Isurus really feels like it's going to have a much larger impact than anything that THD are going to be picking up in the near future. Although Blink Meepo is nice, Blink Batrider is nice, Blink Hex is going to rival even those two, and this is on the support nonetheless. 23 minutes in the game. The Witch Doctor and Venge are just so poor. We have a Medallion on the Venge, and Urn and Tranks on the Witch Doctor. Just not much to write home about. No fine, said Vengeful Spirit. Going to be hexed up, screamed down, and that's going to be the end of her life. Beyond godlike for Dulce, as he just hasn't been stopped at all. 10, 1, and 5 on this Queen of Pain. Really doing a lot of work. They'll ping out the Meepos. He farms up through the jungle. And maybe they can kill him off, but yeah, Isurus, it feels like a farming game. Even though they're getting pickoffs here and there, the actual map pressure is limited. But then again, Fight Brewing in mid. Jump in onto Strafe. They bring in the Earth Spike. Finger of Death. Ultimate. Going to be thrown out by the Quap, but is it enough? It will be. Poison damage coming out for the maxed out Dagger is going to be there. Blinking for the lasso. They find an illusion, and my goodness, the Crazy just hasn't really been able to catch a break here. And well, speaking of the break, he isn't going to throw out that Flame Break and look for Nidera either. Lion incredibly low, and actually with a maxed out Flame Break, I think that would have been lethal. Yeah, just not a situation that you want to be in if you're THD. And the Meepo dies in the meantime too. I didn't actually see how that went down. They were forced to commit a Ravage for it, but more than worthwhile. Apologies for the lackluster camera work. I am not feeling my greatest. Either way, Isurus, they're just shutting down THD nicely. Meepo's a hero that, at 24 minutes in, really doesn't want to be behind. This is when he really wants to start picking up the momentum and getting kills for his team. He's sucking up a lot of the map's resources away from his supports, especially where they can't find anything. Swap over in the sidelines. They found themselves a Crystal Maiden, and Crystal Maiden's going to drop, but then again, the Witch Doctor is going to eat a Requiem to the face. It doesn't look like it fully connected, but double raises over to the Venge. They just need one more right-click. Zeal is going to lose his life. The Witch Doctor, by some miracle, survives. Now Suggest blinks in. He gets the net and poof, obliteration onto the Queen of Pain. Ultimate from Minnow. That's going to be a big win for them. And now a pause. Are you kidding me? Vengeful Spirit is going to delay this game for a little bit longer. Well, let's see. Is Pepita going to be fine? Looks like the answer to that question is no. No blinks for... Bat lag. Okay. Well, very well. Alright, does have a lasso cooling down in 5 seconds, and that could be pretty crucial. Looks like this net flying in the air should connect. It looks like it's going to be thrown about here, although during this pause, Pepita could, I suppose, juke it, go down towards the south. Maybe, just maybe, that's going to be his best option of surviving, but it looks like Pepita's also going to bite the dust since he was forced to use that BKB early on to try and ensure the Requiem kill on the Witch Doctor as well as the kill on the Venge, but now without it, damage from Meepo can really start to shine. When you have 4 of these Meepo clones with the double poof damage onto the SF, that starts getting scary. 140 magic damage multiplied by 8. Yeah, I don't think even Pepita can survive that. And we'll just have to see. That's going to miss. He's going to start slowing down with Geostrike, however. And now with the Paralyzed Cast Bounce, it looks like he's gone. We do have an Earth Spike, but it's only going to be on Mino. The Ewell Scepter is going to delay it. Blink in. Mino going to lose his life, but Pepita going to tick down. The Witch Doctor isn't going to get poetic justice by killing him off with the Maledict. His Bat Rider secures that last hit. It looks like Isurus just bit off more than they could chew. Honestly, I have no idea why they're going for it now and why they go for these aggressive dives. Honestly, I think the Shadow Fiend would have been better served trying to back out, but as good a game as they're having, they are losing a lot of their momentum after that last, and the biggest winner there is Suggest on the Meepo, currently sitting at 3,000 gold and almost a Sight of Ice to complete it up for him should he want to go. Poofs away, coming out from the Meepo. He'll go down towards the bottom lane, mops up 2 tier 1 towers very quickly, as Isurus just can't really contest that, and that is your completed Scythe, should he want to actually pick that up. Might be a different item altogether. If he wants to go for his Scotty, I don't think that's terrible either. It really depends on if he wants to focus on survivability or his ability to find pickoffs and initiate fights, and honestly, I think at this point, with the Bat Rider just not really being able to do the job with the disables coming out from Isurus, Bat Rider without the BKB just can't jump in. Maybe he goes for the Scythe himself. But no matter what it is, I think Meepo should get some sort of big stat item. Inside the river, Zeal going to bump into the Queen of Pain as well as Nidera. They'll silence up the Razor. Long Earth Spike. Swap back, not going to save you here. The Finger of Death, no mercy for that Razor as he gets zapped down to the ground. Nothing less than a crater. Now frogged up as well as screamed down. The Vengeful Spirit also going to meet a similar fate as it is a double kill for Nidera. As Isurus find themselves a nice rotation. Really, THD need to stop getting picked off like this. Or at least try not to. That's easier said than done up against this Queen of Pain. It is going to be a Scythe up for the Meepo, and a necessary pickup it is too. Mostly useful for bringing down the SF, I feel. The Queen of Pain with the Lincoln Sphere on her is not going to be as easy to bring down. with that Hexes. Meepo doesn't have any other way to pop it other than the Scythe of Ice. He is going to put his good use onto Pepita. He has the BKB, however, if he turns around, but he's not able to get it off. The lasso isn't enough. They cancel off the ultimate channeling from the Crystal Maiden. The Batrider surviving on low HP is enough to save Suggest. They blink in, Anchor smash him down, and Queen of Pain mops up one more kill. The blink after the bat, can't find him. Over in the sidelines, Dulce not going to be able to blink far enough, and the Batrider does survive. Oh, a fairly even exchange after all is said and done. Although the experience that Isurus gained cannot be understated, that is an experience swing of about 1,000 there. Although the gold swing is pretty much even, and honestly, I think that's probably pretty good for THD considering it was the Shadow Fiend to lose about 600. And that 600 is a 600 that is going to be working towards his own Scotty, which is very close to being completed, but now it's going to take him a little bit longer. Literally just a couple gold from being able to purchase that up. Alrighty then, the game is still going at a pretty similar pace. And really nothing has changed much after that pickoff. Neither team going to be able to find any major objectives. And honestly, I'm surprised that neither team has gone to the Roche. Or the most recent Roche, is it has respawned. With the double damage rune on the Meepo, that Roshan would be dropping in a mere matter of seconds. It is crazy how good Meepo double damage is all of the clones, if they're close enough to the main Meepo when he activates the double damage rune, are affected by that DD. So effectively, at this point, you have 10 Meepos. Or actually, yeah, 10 Meepos. It's not a double damage, it's actually a 10 times damage. If you can put it into that. And, well, Meepo is sitting at 133. Base that's all doubled is pretty darn incredible. Alrighty then. Well, for now, both teams going to sit back. My math is completely wrong. Just ignore everything I said. It's not a 10 times multiplier. Either way, it's really darn good. Okay, then. They are going to spot out the Roche. The smoke pops as they spot out Zuni. Zuni going to need a magic missile, but he's forced after up to the high ground. BKB by the Batrider, freshly picked up, is going to try to use it on his Zuni, but Anchor Smash is already procced. They'll swap him back. Zuni dropping, but not dropping very low. Now they lasso him down to the low ground, not actually going to get there before it procs. He commits the Ravage cancel off the Witch Doctor channeling. They'll Finger of Death up Minnow as well. Minnow going to drop as the blink in from the Queen of Pain goes on to Zeal. Zeal going to drop as well as the Meepo has been mopping up the Roshan with that double damage that I was talking about earlier, and Shadow Fiend's obliterated. Queen of Pain jumps in, drops an ultimate, and is going to drop the Aegis off of the Meepo, but can't actually go for anything else, as he does have backup now, and THD find themselves an opening that really I wasn't expecting them to have. I probably should have been looking a little bit closer at the Meepo during the entirety of that fight, but they take a pretty decent one. The usage of spells to actually kite out that Tidehunter and keep him at arm's length and stop him from actually getting off a good Ravage is pretty darn good. Most players would probably have just instantly lassoed him, but that probably wouldn't have done the job. They have to commit a lot to him, but it buys them space for suggesting. That's really just what they need. This Meepo is starting to snowball currently at the top of the net worth chart, and it looks like it's going to be a Diff Blade for the Meepo. Maybe he goes off for a Manta style. That wouldn't be bad either, with the Orchid coming out for the Queen of Pain on the main Meepo, and just offering a little bit more stats for all of his clones. But no matter what it is, it actually is going to be that Diff Blade. It's going to be a lot of damage, and honestly, I love Diffusal Blade Meepo. And there's not really much else other than the fact that it gives you 35 agility for about 4,000 gold worth of an item, which is insane. As I talked about earlier, Meepo, all those clones are going to benefit from the base damage increase that this item is going to offer, and it's quite a lot. It's not just 35 damage, it's actually a lot more than that. Pretty much the effectiveness of buying multiple, or like an MKB and a half or something like that. That's just a random ballpark. Don't take that for its entirety, but it's really darn good. Alrighty then, THD going to pull back, but they have found some wind in their sails, and Isurus are starting to fall a little bit behind. They will have that Scotty up for the SF, but he just hasn't been able to find any progression when it comes to the amount of gold that he's gotten in the last couple of minutes. Queen of Pain blinks down towards the south. Can they actually find him? You can't lock her down with the Scythe, or can you? It's going to be popped nicely by the Vengeful Spirit, I believe, with the Medallion, and they'll be able to poof her down as Meepo obliterates that Queen of Pain. Well played by Zeal. I really thought that that Scythe of Ice would have been thrown into the Lincoln Sphere, but just a really clutch Medallion usage coming out from the Venge. Alrighty then, THD going to look for a push down towards bottom, and they can do so very effectively. The Diffusal Blade is going to be upgraded by the Meepo very quickly. In fact, it might have been the Meepo that popped that himself with the Diffusal Blade, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. Either way, THD are going to be rocking with a lot of damage And with the Venge, too. Holy cow, that is a very scary combination. The Venge aura applied to all of those Meepos, too. He's going to be trucking when it comes to physical damage, and or it's going to be shooting up towards top. They get the lasso off on the SF. He's going to try to unleash the Requiem. They get an Ice or a Spike Finger, but the Requiem just can't come out. They get the lasso, but it kills off the Meepo either way. The Death Requiem is enough to do just a little bit more damage. The Crazy going to be able to blink out to safety, but then again... well, looks like that's going to be about it. The Courier was attempted by the Lion, but just not enough to actually chase it down. Isurus do lose the tier 2 tower in the bottom lane in the meantime. And THD can't really go for much more without their Meepos, so I suppose it has been slowed down a little bit by Isurus, and maybe that's what they need. But that net worth is completely zeroed out, and it's incredible, especially if you take a look at 24 minutes in, that 10,000 gold and experience lead for Isurus. That I really felt like they needed to abuse a little bit more. Once they got that BKB and Aegis up on the Shadow Fiend, I think they could have gone in and actually made something happen. Take down those tier 2 towers and put a pressure onto the enemy team. That was before Meepo had a Scythe, before he had any major items other than the Blink Axe. And even before he got the Blink, I think there was windows for Isurus. I think they just weren't comfortable enough going into those fights. Maybe over-respecting the power of Meepo. But now they definitely are going to feel the pain of that. You give this hero just a little bit of space, and he can do work with it, as we've kind of seen already. It's still anybody's game. It's zeroed out, and no high ground has been breached. But then again, THD, it feels like they're the ones that are in a little bit more control. We'll have to see where this next Batrider initiation leads them, or if they're going to be able to find anything. But really, there's just no response to a BKB lasso coming out from Isurus. Maybe punching themselves in the... I'm not even sure where I was going, or punching themselves. We'll just stick with that. About not going for the Venge as early as they could have. I think they probably would have been better off picking that up first, or maybe even second, instead of this Crystal Maiden, because at this point, I don't think Fullback's really able to have a huge enough impact. I mean, he's played well, not to take anything away from Fullback, but then again, I think that Vengeful Spirit would have just been a better hero so that they have an answer to the BKB. They'll find themselves suggesting the Requiem ultimate! Nothing going to be held back as they drop all 4 of their ultis there, but well, burst damage is not something that Isurus are lacking. Holy cannoli, that Meepo did not survive long. And I suppose they still have answers to him. As long as they can catch him out alone, then they don't start the fight on their own terms. THD. Apologies for missing that fight recap, but the experience advantage that they get from 1 kill is huge. Just take a look at that. That is 1 kill that drops it down like 2,000, 3,000. Into Isurus' favor. Absurd. And that is also another one of the risks of running with Meepo. Just the way that the hero works, he gets to level 25 incredibly quickly. And when you're level 25 and you die near a level 15 Lion, you're going to be giving him a lot of XP that means a lot. For Nadera especially, getting that level 16 up means a 40-second cooldown as well as an extra bit of damage. It's going to be making that Meepo bursting that much easier for them. It's actually Shadowblade Batrider, interestingly enough. At this point, generally the type of choice is Scythe if you feel that you can get a little bit extra money, and if you just want the raw mobility, picking yourself up a Mask of Madness generally is a choice, but this might be a tool that THD can use to great success if they can catch Isurus off guard. Currently running with no Invis heroes on their side, it's unlikely that Isurus have actually invested in that many sentries, although it's not going to be the worst feeling for Fullback to actually have to pick those up, or for the Lion either. It's all down to this first usage of the Shadowblade, I feel. If you can get them a kill on the Queen of Pain or the Shadow Fiend, I think it's completely worth it. If not, maybe go for Scythe or Refresher, I think. Assault Cuirass going to be picked up by the Razor, and well, finally he's going to be contributing something a little bit more to the team fight. Still really haven't felt that this Razor's done a whole heck of a lot inside the fights. I mean, he's there, he doesn't die, but then again, he's not doing that much damage, or really denying much away from Isurus either. This Assault Cuirass, however, is going to offer a lot of damage, in particular for the Meepo. That extra minus armor, as well as the attack speed, works wonders. They have a lot of auras to buff up Suggest and make him a beast. But right now, Suggest is starting to peter off, or taper off, I think is a better way to put it. He really just has the Scotty to pick up next as his next major item, and really that's about all that he can do to increase his power. There's really not much else to go for this Meep, and that is problematic for them. Isurus have plenty of slots to fill on their Queen of Pain and their Shadow Fiend. Alrighty then. Big pickup for THD is the Aghanim Scepter up for the Witch Doctor. You know, going to be able to do a lot of work if they can find the initiation on their own terms and have everybody close. The minus armor stacking up from the Venge as well as the Assault Cuirass still is pretty potent. We look at the Crystal Maiden, he's going to be put into negative numbers by that. Lion, similar story there. Even the Queen of Pain and Tidehunter are not going to be very comfortable. We'll just put it lightly. The Aghanim Scepter Witch Doctor ultimate is huge. Refresher on Tide, however, means that Isurus have a big potential to take a fight. BKB popped up by the bat, but blink away from Pepita's going to keep him safe. Force Staff Dara is going to be sent back into the base. And, well, although that could have been a very hairy fight, actually doesn't net anything for either side, as both sides are just going to pull out, at least for the time being. Okay, then. Well, we'll just have to wait for the next aggressive move, and it looks like that's going to be right about now, as Isurus and company are going to smoke up, and if they find out Suggest, that would be huge for them. But he does have some support inbound with the Witch Doctor and Venge close by, and he's going to poof up all of his clones, I believe, up towards top, leaving only the main Meepo with the rest of the company. But then again, his poofing up towards top might punish him. He doesn't want to stick around. He clears out the creep wave as fast as possible. Blink forward, Earth Spike, they found Suggest. Blink in, the BKB Ravage Requiem on to Suggest, and he's going to be completely blown up, and they have another Ravage for the next fight. Meepo, although he has buyback, doesn't want to have to spend it. And, well, I talked about, especially inside the draft, the ability of Isurus to bring down the Meepo, and it hasn't fallen off yet. That's absolutely a huge amount of damage that they can pump through. And also something that I haven't really talked about much is that the Requiem, even if it doesn't instantly blow up the Meepo, as long as it applies the 50% minus damage buff and you get the Anchor Smash off too, Meepo is going to be doing a lot less inside the fights. Shadowblade in for the Batrider. Doesn't find the lasso opportunity, although the Firefly is on the ground. They know that he Shadowbladed through him. Pepita might be standing a little too close, but has plenty of backup in reserve. So looks like nothing is actually going to happen there, except for the tier 2 tower falling. Meepo, at least for now, is been able to hold his buyback, but honestly, I think Isurus should be forcing the issue more. Even though their late game is fine and all, I think there's just been a couple opportunities where they could have, in theory, at least forced out a buyback here or taken a tower here or there that they are missing a little bit of. It's still scary to deal with the blinking and Batrider, but honestly, without the Meepo there, THD just don't seem to do enough damage at this point. Either way, we're going to just wait for the next round of items for Isurus, and it looks like the call from them is going to be to wait out for that next Roshan, which should be coming up fairly shortly. In fact, in just a couple more seconds, a long Roshan respawn timer for Isurus. Unfortunately for them, they would have liked to have that sooner. Smoke up coming out from THD, or no, that's just Shadowblade coming out from the Batrider, excuse me. He's going to Firefly instantly, blink up to the high ground, and start laying that Firefly down. He has an invis too, but unfortunately for the bat, he doesn't spot out the Roshan timer. Not sure how diligently THD have been keeping track of that timer, but neither team have actually spotted the ugly beast themselves. Isurus going to be walking down as a 5-man unit in the bottom lane, potentially going to find a pickoff, and it looks like that pickoff is going to be the Razor Strafe. This is not a good place for you to be, my friend. Let's see how fast he's going to be able to pocket this BKB, because I think he needs it. Although the Meepo is close, it's not going to save you here, as he's going to be dropped down. They don't even need the Requiem, just going to bop him one to the face. And Pepita is going to contribute to that kill as Queen of Pain gets the last hit. Isurus now going to find themselves at a huge advantage when it comes to actual Roshan fight. They don't have to commit any ultimates for that at all, and they'll have the double Ravage up in 40 seconds. Alrighty then. Tier 2 tower in bottom looks like it's going to be the plan for them, but Meepo's sneaky erosion in the meantime. Suggest is going to be able to do this, and, well, that's gone. Unfortunate for them. The cheese is on the floor, and Batrider should pick this one up. He is going to leave his Tranquil Boots, thinks about leaving his TP. Maybe just gonna sell the cheese for somebody else, but in the meantime, Tier 2 tower is going to be the trade, but honestly, I think that's completely worth it. As scary it is for them to bring down the Meepo that first time, bring him down the second time's a little bit harder. Yeah, we'll have to see. They'll have 2 Ravages at least to work with, and Meepo doesn't really have any answer to that. But for now, THD going to fall back, as is Isurus. Nobody really wants to fight. We have an Assault Cuirass on the Shadowfiend to match the one on the Razor, offering some extra armor for him and his company, and more than a worthy item choice. I probably would have preferred him to go for a Butterfly, but this is going to help their base sieging a little bit more. Alrighty then. Slowed down yet again. 24 to 36 is our kill score. This game definitely hasn't been without its fights. But then again, for now, we're just chilling. Isurus don't feel comfortable pushing into the double life on the Meepo, and THD don't feel comfortable pushing into the double Ravage coming out from Isurus. And fair enough, too. We're going to have a smoke picked up by the bench, and honestly, this feels like it's the biggest way for both teams to actually get outside of their base. And it looks like THD are going to try to make the first move. They'll sit behind their Meepo as a smoked unit, or at least I think they'll smoke. And actually does clip out the Bat Rider too. They're going to lay him out as bait, and this could be disastrous for Isurus. So jump in. They have a Ravage. They're going to commit it, but the BKB on straight means that it's not going to affect them much. They have the second Ravage committed, but now they last one. Pepita dropping low. Witch Doctor channeling his ultimate, eventually going to cancel. There's your Meepo Aegis drop down. Pepita going to unleash the Requiem, killing off the Venge and company. Meepo's coming back with a vengeance. What can he actually do the second life? However, he's slowed down. Hex going away of Strafe. Strafe dropping low. Dulce isn't going to be the target of focus as Meepo poof stand and kills off the Tide. Shadowfiend makes it off towards the right side of the fight, and Queen of Pain also going to survive, leaving just the three most important heroes in this game, no biggie, left alive. There's buybacks for the Tidehunter, Bat Rider, as well as the Razor. Neither team really should be able to actually find anything off of that. Although the Queen of Pain gets a truckload of experience from that last fight, at this point, it doesn't seem that it matters much for Dulce. He was already in the 20s. Meepo going to continue on pushing, but definitely needs to exercise some amount of caution. Really, those Titan Ravages didn't do much for Isurus at all. I think the biggest issue is that THD, the positioning on all of their heroes, wasn't perfect, we'll put it that way. They were a little bit clumped up and couldn't actually help out the Meepo for the second life, as most of them ended up dying, in particular the Venge and the Witch Doctor, but they did their job. If only they could have finished off the Shadowfiend. However, THD would be in a really good position, I feel. New item up? Never mind. Mino is still sitting on that Aghanim Scepter, just going to buy some sentries for the team. I was wondering where he'd get the gold for a new major item, but actually not going to be the case. Well, we're pretty much back to the same story. Both teams going to wait up for the next major items, but honestly, I think it's Isurus that should be the ones putting a pressure onto the enemy team. Although you have to deal with Boots of Travel Meepo that's going to be constantly split pushing you and keeping all of those lanes pressured out. I think in a 5-on-5 team fight, there's really no contest. Isurus should be able to have that one in the bag as long as THD get caught inside all of that. It's really going to be up to them to keep these lanes pressured to a point where Isurus can't find that fight. And really, by THD, I mean Suggest. He's kind of their only hope here at this point. Even though there is a decent amount of utility being offered by the Razor on the backlines, it really doesn't feel like it's enough to do the trick. After the Shadow Blade on the Bat Rider, no item progression there, and honestly, I don't really see it. This is probably where THD are effectively at their peak, and it's going to rely more on Isurus making mistakes to put them in a position to where they can push and to where they can actually fight the enemy team. Every once in a while, you'll see them look for pickoffs, and rightfully so, but unless these find high priority targets, honestly, it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. Ping's coming out from the Shadowfiend, going to tell his CM to TP back out, and it's going to avoid the entire 5-man rotation coming out from THD. They'll just pull back, at least for now. Yeah. Well, a lot of 5-man coming out from both sides. The goal from THD is to find a single hero alone, but Isurus aren't going to give that to them. The Queen of Pain's alone inside the lane. You have that diffusal up for the Meepo. He's going to try for it. He gets the Hex, but now Pepita going to jump in. Yule Scepter, he has the Requiem, going to unleash it! Although it's not directly on top of Suggest, it's more than enough damage, and that's going to be the Meepo down, and probably going to be forced to buy back here. Go high ground, Isurus. You've missed a couple of opportunities previously. Don't miss this one. Apologies for that. I had to mute myself as I was in the middle of a coughing fit. Just needed a drink of water and what have you. But yeah, Isurus find themselves with a big opportunity. And although Meepo is going to be respawning soon enough, I'm not sure if soon enough is soon enough. As THD probably need this Meepo now. Fortunately enough for their team, they aren't going to have to deal with any creeps, as Isurus were waiting for that next creep wave. But I think the tier 3 tower at the very least is gone if THD do not want to spend that buyback on the Meepo. tier 3 tower. Looks like it's going to lose its life. They blink in, looking for the hacks, but not going to find it. Nadira going to hold the trigger. And the glyph also to delay. Tier 3 tower is down, but now the real fight starts. Isurus potentially are going to back off, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this move. They have a double Ravage, and they have a double ulti coming out from the Queen of Pain, should they want to drop it. But maybe it's just going to be the fake back. I think fake back is probably a good way to do it, although they might have to deal with the Meepos pushing them top. I think they can push just as fast and then TP back towards base. With Boots of Travel on this Shadow Fiend, I think he'd be enough to repel them. Razor farming up inside the lane. Still nobody's jumping and nobody's biting. Isurus, fall back. That might just be it. They haven't found anything. There's just not an opportunity for them. THD are bottled up, and bottled up they're going to stay. Shadowblade, Bat Rider looking over the sidelines. The Firefly's on the ground, however, and I think this is very problematic for them. The Bat Rider finds himself deep inside enemy lines. They're not going to get anybody, but now they find themselves fullback. This is going to be an easy kill onto the Crystal Maid, but honestly, I don't think that's enough. They get the Queen of Pain ultimate, going to instantly crater off the Venge. In return, one support for one support, and Dulce has a second ultimate if he wants it, or maybe he just waits for 40 seconds before he drops the double ulti. The Meepo committed all of his little Meepo clones up towards the top lane to split push with a quick Boots of Travel in, TP in, and get some damage on the tier 3 tower, but for now, Isurus are going to be pretty happy with what they've gotten. Refresher going to be dropped on the courier by the Queen of Pain, and, well, looks like we're at that point where Refreshers on couriers, folks. It's 48 minutes in the game, and honestly, I wasn't expecting it, but Queen of Pain probably does need those set of Boots of Travel to actually make sure that she can stay near the rest of her team at all times. Okay, then. I honestly don't know at what point that Isurus are going to be comfortable going for a proper high ground push, or where they're actually going to put pressure onto the enemy team. It really feels like they just want to wait for the perfect opportunity, and that perfect opportunity would be when Meepo dies. And maybe it would be if they have the second Roshan. Lucky enough for them, it is going to be respawning in just a handful of seconds, about 30 or so. And at that point, Isurus can get themselves a second life, but for who is the real big question. Is Queen Pain obviously can't hold on to anything. Foley 6-slotted there, Jedafine, similar boat, can't actually hold anything, and maybe they just give it to the Titan to ensure he gets off the double Ravage, but honestly, I don't think that's worthwhile. Huh. Yeah, it's at a point where it's really problematic who you actually give that Aegis to. I think most importantly, you just deny it from the Meepo. And that's the bottom line, more or less. As Meepo does have a slot that he would love to be filling with the Aegis in that power treads. Although he has enough money to work towards the next item, he needs to stay buyback above all else. Roshan will be taken out by Isurus, and it looks like THD are in no way, shape, or form going to be able to actually contest up against this, even though they have a double damage on Suggest. If there ever was a time to fight, this would be it, but not when you're in these positions. Roshan going to fall, and, well, actually, it's going to be the Shadow Fiend to pick it up. He's going to pitch the Yules. No, he's going to get the cheese, and the Aegis is going towards Zuni. Huh, not sure if I like that choice. I think the Aegis on the Shadow Fiend would have been a little bit better. Fair enough dropping the Yules, however, I actually forgot that he had it inside his inventory. Isurus going to come back, and all they get is the free Aegis. Nothing lost. Suggest will continue split pushing out as the Meepo can, and we're at a stalemate, folks. Right now, THD don't really want to fight. Let's see if they're going to be able to lock down this Shadow Fiend enough to keep him from getting off the cheese. I think that answer is no, unless they can get a lasso off onto him. And for now, that probably isn't going to happen. Bat Rider lays down some Firefly over on the enemy sides of the woods, but then he'll go ahead and TP back. And I think that the rest of THG should probably take a similar course of action. Poofs away from the Meepo, going to keep him safe. The Meepo is nowhere close anymore. He's all the way up towards the top. And he has a very slippery target to actually catch out. You kind of need to be on top of him when he poofs in, or at least very close. THD. Well, for now, they're doing their job. They're keeping the lanes pushed out, and they are making sure that Isurus are having a hard time actually finding them. Pavita actually going to pick up a Maelstrom towards a Mjolnir, and that Mjolnir is going to be completed pretty much momentarily as soon as he gets that over to the secret shop and flies that out towards himself. He is going to be foregoing buyback, however. He does have a cheese. Maybe he's going to be comfortable with it. No, never mind. He's going to have buyback too. Completely scratch that. He'll drop the cheese on the ground, and, well, there's your Mjolnir flying out to him as well. Yeah, apologies. I thought he'd not bought the Hyperstone yet. Isurus I mean, they have the Aegis, but they're not going to do anything with it. I mean, let's see. Lasso, they find themselves full back, and now they're definitely not going to do anything. They're sans one of their players, even though that one player is a CM. Swap back, little right clicker down. The Shadow Fiend's close. They bring in Nadera. Not going to be able to Earth Spike. TP away from Batrider will keep him safe. It's still a decent enough BKB to get him out away from the side of Isurus. No way to cancel that through BKB, as far as I can see on their team. Well then, we've gotten ourselves quite a game. Right now, Isurus, it really feels like they're stalling out, but to what end? And then again, THD, they're holding, but again, to what end? When are they actually going to be able to put use to this constant stalling and constant stalemate? It's a huge advantage when it comes to experience for Isurus, and a decent advantage when it comes to gold, but honestly, I feel like this doesn't matter as much, because the heroes on THD kind of have what they need. You have a Venge with 4 staff. That's it. That's all you need. 53 minutes in, doesn't matter, even though you look dirt poor, that's probably good enough for your team. Aghanim Scepter on the Witch Doctor, again, probably good enough. Batrider, he has all of the mobility items you can hope for. Maybe he goes for SNY, who knows, but he's effectively 6-11, will probably pitch the Shadow Blade at some point for maybe a Scythe of Ice, I think would be my personal choice, or something of that caliber, but more or less he's capped out. And then you have the Razor, who's also not really getting much stronger. He's also sitting on a cheese. It should be noted that both teams have that extra restoration at their side, or do they? What happened to the Dyer's cheese? No, it's on the Courier. Oh, the Courier needs cheese too, no worries. This is just going to forego the best regeneration item in the game. I mean, at the very least, maybe even give it to one of your supports if they get gone on. Could be worthwhile. Especially for the Crystal Maiden, if they drop her low and she's just able to pop cheese, BKB, and ult. Could be pretty sick. As long as the swap has already been spent, of course. Yeah. I'm really running out of things to talk about. This is, honestly, at this point, not very interesting. We're just going to be waiting for the next time when either team finds themselves an opening to actually find a team fight. Isurus, even though they get the Roshan, even though they have the Aegis for another 50 seconds or so, they're not doing anything. They're going smoke. They might find the Meepo. This could be it. They will Ravage up. Suggest second Ravage. Second ultimate coming out for the Queen of Pain to end the Requiem. They get to Meepo's first life. He has buyback at the ready, and now they are down double Ravage, so I don't think that actually gets anything for Isurus in hindsight. But at least it's a move in the right direction. They find themselves to pick off on to Suggest. You can't really ask for much more, but in and of itself, that's not enough. Meepo going to be flying out the Scotty to himself, as he does have enough money for Scotty and buyback, as far as I can see, and I'll want that Scotty for his reincarnation. At a certain point, you'll also consider replacing the Diffusal Blade, maybe a Serial Blade, if he really wants to go heavy into the stats. Another Scotty? Who knows? Honestly, he's pretty much capped out, and maybe you just want to keep it as Diffusal Blade. If we're getting to the point where we talk about replacing it with the F. I don't think we really have a game much on our hands anymore. Alrighty then. Tower, bottom is going to be pushed out by Isurus, and again, I think this is a case where they might get a tier 3, but they won't be able to get any more. And yeah, it looks like that's the case. They don't even get the tier 3. Refresher is going to be the item of choice for the Batrider, so double lasso action going to be coming out from him. What did he actually get rid of? Okay, so at the Blink Forest, Boots of Travel, honestly, I cannot remember. Yeah. Well, he is going to be running with double lassos, and that's pretty darn huge. Or maybe even just a blink in, lasso, refresh lasso the same target and just force staff them from here to Kingdom Come if you can find the Shadow Fiend and the Queen of Pain. We'll wait for those refreshers to come back up for Isurus, but at this point we're looking at a Queen of Pain that's building a Necro Book. Yes, a Necro Book. And that is going to be up on the Courier whenever she wants it. And, oh, maybe it's just what Isurus needed to actually push high ground. We have a smoke coming out from THD, and this could be pretty huge. They might find Zuni. No Ravages at the ready for 30 seconds until he has one. They'll spot him out. They're going to hex him up, and now Zuni's completely gone. The Meepo comes in, and he's going to get force staffed up to the high ground, but that's about it. He is going to end up dying. This is 86 seconds with no tide and with no Ravages at the ready. I think THD found themselves an opening. and maybe they can even transition this into racks, especially if another hero loses their life. But if that hero is straight, that could not be the right choice for him. He's going to eat the ultimate, but now Dulce is netted down. No blinking for you, and with the lasso flying through, Dulce also going to die, although this Queen of Pain does have buyback. They also save Strafe's life, and he pops the cheese and is back and ready to go into this fight. Honestly, not sure how Isurus are losing hold of this game. They're going to bring in the Shadow Fiend. They buy back on the Queen of Pain. The tier 3 tower is already dropping low. Beacon, Blinken. They get the Requiem going to be dropped on the Suggest, but he's not even down to half HP, and they lasso up Pepita. The ultimate being dropped by the Queen of Pain. They are going to be able to bring down the Meepo with the Finger of Death and the Queen of Pain's damage, but then again, they lose their Shadow Fiend. Buy back from the Meepo. He wants back in. He's coming into the catapult. They just can't kill in time. Suggest gets the net onto Dulce. This might be a dieback, and it looks like Dulce is going to lose his life. Nadera comes in with the spike, and now will blink away from Queen of Pain. It's going to keep her safe, and the Shadow Fiend's back up and ready. Suggest cannot afford to die now. He's going to start poofing out. The Scotty slow is going to start wearing off. TP's back to base, and it looks like he's going to survive. But then again, Batrider might not be so lucky. The Architect don't think that's going to be enough damage to do him in. Not even going to be close. It looks like he's made himself out, but Suggest he dies? How? I honestly thought that Meepo was out home free. Oh my goodness. If that was any other hero, I think this is game over, but lucky enough, they do have the reduced time on Meepo's respawn, but at the very least, this is a lane of racks for Isurus. How do they catch him? Shadow Fiend sure as heck doesn't have any way to cancel the poof out coming out from the Meepo. Maybe it's a missed micro? Maybe he got a little too confident trying to get a kill in return? Man, I'm really sorry that I missed that. I honestly thought Meepo was fine. Isurus going to come up with their full 5-man unit inside the mid lane. This is going to be at the very least one set of racks, I feel. There's not really much else the THD can do about this. They have a Batrider, my goodness, but really all of their physical damage is in that Meepo. Tier 3 tower going to lose its life. They have that Necro Book popped out by the Queen of Pain, and well, it's time for courier juggling. They have the Razor up in the front lines. He gets his BKB off, as well as having a refresher at the ready if he needs to. And for now, they're delaying long enough to where this barracks hasn't come out. But now they Ravage, and double Ravage going to be let loose by Zuni, as is the Queen of Pain ultimate onto two. The Crystal Maiden channeling it over to the sideline. It's going to be canceled as I lag out. Oh, well, I'm back in. Well, looks like THD is not. Meepo is going to be respawning in 13 seconds, but he's going to be completely alone. No other buybacks up for THD, and it looks like this might just be the end of game number 1. I honestly don't see them coming back, especially from Mega Creeps, and what a topsy-turvy game. Suggest is going to end up calling it, and THD will end up disconnecting. This is a best of 2 series, or rather a 2-game series, and they do have a chance to come back in game number 2. I expect a Meepo ban coming out from Isurus. Really, without that hero, I don't think there was much chance that THD could have stood as long as they could have. It wasn't a very crisp victory for Isurus. I think they had some chances where they could have really punished THD and taking better advantage of their objectives that they were able to take. But in the end, it doesn't matter. They end up with a Shadow Fiend and Queen of Pain that completely get out of control. 688 GPM on the SF and 670 on the Queen of Pain. Thanks for watching. It won't be it here for tonight, but we'll have one more game coming up shortly, so don't go anywhere. More Join Dota League up next.